Hey girl, hey! In this episode, I'm going to share some advice on how to choose the right platform for your long-term legacy vision. It's really easy for us to hop on what's currently trending at the moment, like TikTok or Threads, but normally we can tell which platform will be the easiest for us to pursue long-term based on our natural skills and abilities. But the ultimate goal is to choose a platform that will lead us to long-term results, help us establish our brand, and give us a place to share our wisdom and legacy journey online. Now, I'm sure you probably already have a platform in mind, as well as a style of content that you feel pulled to create in this season. So in this episode, I'm going to help you identify your legacy platform and what to do after you've made your final decision. So let's dive in. You're listening to the Create Her Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Lashawnda Smith, and I'm going to help you create your legacy through YouTube and podcasting. Each episode is going to teach you how to leverage these platforms to build a powerful brand for your business, create bigger and better opportunities, and become the first legacy starter in your family. I hope you're ready for today's episode. So, figuring out how to choose the right platforms for your brand and legacy, I think it's really important because this is a long-term decision that you're essentially making for your brand and for your legacy. And so I'm actually glad that I'm doing this episode today. This is actually the second time that I'm doing this episode. I tried to do this episode like a couple of weeks ago, and for some reason, it was not coming together the way that I wanted to. And so I wanted to make sure that this episode really aligned with the goal that I had in helping you to choose the right platforms. So now I feel a lot better. I feel a lot more ready to talk about this now that I am actually doing podcasting and YouTube again. Before, I had taken a break for quite some time and I have gotten started again. So I kind of feel more comfortable talking about platforms now that I'm back in it. And so I want to go ahead and get started. So I want to talk about first is why should you create content as a part of your legacy? And the very first thing and the very first reason is because you want a way to pass down your wisdom and knowledge onto the next generation and onto the current generation. So creating content in today's time is essentially leaving the blueprint for people in the future. And a lot of the times when you have a legacy vision, it's probably something that not too many people have done or have been proven to be done yet. So you may have an idea where you're like, dang, I don't have anyone to kind of look up to or anyone to really be inspired by that has done this thing because I have a new idea. And so you're essentially creating the blueprint of how to make it happen as you're going through your journey. And so that's really important when it comes to creating content, because right now we have been blessed with being able to create podcast episodes, so audio experiences. We've been blessed to be able to document stuff through YouTube and through our videos. So we even have our phones now where we can just document everything as we're on the go. So it's such a great opportunity for us to be able to create any type of content as a part of our blueprint. You also want a way, like I kind of mentioned, to document your journey and legacy. So one of the things that really draws me to someone's brand and someone's business is that if I come across them, of course, and they're already successful, I want to know where they started. I want to know where they came from. I want to know how did they get here. And so being able to have content available for people who are becoming a part of your community, you want to be able to have a way for them to go back and see, like, where did this person start this and how did they build this? And so that's why creating content in today's time is a major part of your legacy. Also, you want a way to be remembered long after you're gone from this earth. And I don't want to hit on this too much, but we ain't going to be here forever. Like, we all know for a fact that one day we will not be here anymore. And you want a way for people to remember you. You don't want, once you're gone from here, you have created nothing to be remembered by. And so having content that is evergreen and that people can always come across to remember you from is really important as a part of your legacy. legacy, because that's a major component of legacy building. The whole point of creating and building a legacy is so that you're remembered long term, and that includes after you're gone. And then you want a way to create an impact and leave your mark. So this kind of goes into the other thing I just mentioned. You create an impact by documenting your journey, by making a difference in people's lives, by creating and being inspirational to other people who may also be wanting to step into the blueprint that you've created, in reference to seeing that, oh, if this person can do it, I can definitely do it too. That's leaving your mark. That's creating an impact in the world. You have to be able to bring in the financial revenue, of course, to be able to make such an impact. But even just your presence and being able to build your community, being able to create content where people can resonate with you and build that a relationship with you, understanding where you come from, is a major component when it comes to that. And then the last thing I want to mention with this specifically on why you should be creating content as a part of your legacy is because it's going to position you for opportunities that will help you with legacy building. So if no one knows about you, if you haven't created any type of thing to be known online, no one's going to know about you unless they're in your intimate circle. Like if they're in your immediate circle, okay, that's great. But we have access to the world online at this point. And so as you're positioning yourself online, whether it's through podcasting or through social media or through YouTube, you're going to be positioning yourself for better opportunities, because there's also other people that are out here building their own legacies, and they may like what you're doing. They may want to be a part of what you're doing, or they may want you to be a part of what they're doing, whether it's hosting an event and they want you to be on the panel, or maybe they want you to do your own speaking segment at their event because they love what you stand for and what you represent, or the authority and credibility you bring in a specific space that they want their audience to learn from. So you position yourself for opportunities whenever you allow yourself to create content as a part of your legacy. Now, here's the top legacy building platforms that I recommend you choose from. I've already said them. So YouTube or podcasting. With YouTube, it's going to give people a more visual representation and give you the ability to document visually what it is that you're doing. I feel like YouTube is a very powerful platform because some people love the visual. They love that documentation. You don't have to wait on Netflix to give you a deal to be able to document what you have going on. You don't have to wait on any of these different networks anymore to tell your story, to create your own show. You can create your own show on YouTube, and you can take people through in real time what it is that you're doing behind the scenes. You can do talking segments. You can do all types of things on YouTube. And it's a free platform for you to create and post content on. And so I definitely recommend that being one of the top legacy building platforms that you consider whenever you are thinking about choosing what is your legacy building platform. The second option is podcasting. And so with podcasting, this gives your community and your audience a more audio experience, which is a lot more intimate and it's a lot more conversational. So people are listening to you and your podcast while they're getting ready to do their big day, whether it's going to work or taking the kids to school or before they start their day doing business or whatever it is that their life looks like. They are going to your podcast and you are essentially in their ear every morning or once a week, giving them the advice, sharing inspiration, doing whatever it is that you plan on talking about on your podcast. And so that's another legacy building platform, because one thing that I love about podcasting is that you own your podcast. So with podcasting, once you get your hosting platform, you don't have to worry about being censored. You don't have to worry about getting approval of what you're talking about or anything like that. You essentially get to call the shots with your podcast and take it as far as you want to take it. You can have people on your podcast, so that allows for conversations, that allows for networking and collab opportunities. I mean, both of the platforms are so powerful in their own ways. And I'm going to kind of separate the two and kind of give you some benefits for both, so that way you can kind of choose between the two. So why only these two? So choosing between these two platforms are both long form and evergreen platforms. And this is why I consider them legacy building platforms, because they are long form, meaning you're talking to this person, you're talking to your audience for an extended amount of time. These are not short form videos. These are not short form podcast episodes. They're going to be with you for a good 10, 20 minutes, if not longer, consuming your content. And if you create really good content, you may create a binge opportunity for them to kind of go down a rabbit hole of your podcast or your YouTube channel and just watch videos or podcasts back to back to back to back, right? So that's long form. And then it's also, these are evergreen platforms. So even if you create a podcast episode or a YouTube channel, even if you create a podcast episode or a YouTube video today, it can be 3, 5, 7 years from now that someone comes across that video or that podcast episode and they're impacted in the same exact way that they would have been impacted the very first day that you posted the video. And I also feel like depending on what the video is and what you're documenting, it may have even more value the longer that it's been on your platform, because the more successful you become, the more results you start to get. Those episodes previously that you created where you were talking about your process, where you were talking about the vision, when you were talking about the dream, when you were brainstorming beforehand, now they're able to go back and hear your perspective, hear your thoughts, hear your game plan, and see how it worked out in your favor. So that's why I love evergreen platforms, because another thing with these is they're searchable. So on YouTube, if you're creating how-to videos or like things that for beginners or whatever, people can put in the search what they're looking for, and then they'll come across your video regardless of how old it is. So even if it's older, it's effective. And so you're still bringing in, specifically from YouTube, you're still bringing in revenue if you're monetized on your channel. And so even if you created the video 5 years ago, you can still be bringing in ad revenue from that video. You can still be making sales in your business from that video from 5 years ago. So yeah, it's work up front, but it's worth the results long term because it's evergreen. It's going to consistently be performing for you long term. Same thing with the podcast. The podcast is the same. So if they come across, I think on podcasting now, they can also search for specific topics. And then the podcast platforms now, like Spotify, it would recommend podcasts that are similar to things that you seem to be interested in. And so you have an opportunity for people to stumble across those episodes, and they can go back as far as they want, because as long as you have the podcast, they can go all the way back down to the very first episode. Even if you have 200 plus episodes on your podcast, they have the ability to see all of them and listen to whatever it is they're interested in. And this goes to the next part in reference to both of them having longevity. So they both platforms have longevity, meaning you can go and access those episodes and those YouTube videos very, very long term. And you can get those results very, very long term in reference to your business. And the more your channel is growing, the more your podcast is growing, the more those episodes and videos are going to take off as well, because people like to binge consume content. You can also build a large brand and community on both of these platforms. So you're essentially targeting two different types of people. On YouTube, you're targeting people who prefer visual. And then on podcasting, you're targeting people who like that more intimate conversational experience. So those are two very different people. And I like to look at it kind of like with podcasting, these are people that are busy, they're on the go, they're making moves, they like listening to audio format, they're doing this while they're working, they're listening to you while they're working, they're listening to you while they're driving. Like that is how they're consuming their content. And they may not actually be able to sit and listen to a YouTube video because they ain't got time, right? These are very busy people. And so when I think about podcasting, I think about people of a certain caliber, because when you're super busy like that, you're probably making moves. And so it just puts them in a different target bracket whenever you think about the people that consume podcasting or podcast episodes. Now, when you think about YouTube, the target for those people are, like I said, people who like that visual representation of what it is that you're doing. They may like vlog footage where they're looking at you document your journey. And this can very well well be the same person depending on what it is that they're doing, right? So they may like to listen to you on podcasting in the mornings, but then they may also like to come to your YouTube channel every once in a while when they have some time to just kind of relax and look at your look at your vlogs and look at what it is that you're talking about over there. But then YouTube is also a platform where people are looking for results. Like they're looking for how to solve a problem now. So when they're looking for educational content, they are putting in the search exactly what it is that they're looking for because they are action takers and they're ready to take action. And so YouTube is a powerful platform because you are essentially attracting warm leads into your business and into your brand. So if you can establish yourself as an authority on one video, you may make a sale instantly just from you establishing your credibility in that one video and them getting your vibe. They're able to get your energy from your video. They're able to see like, oh, do I really like this person? Do I trust this person's content? Oh, they really helped me solve this problem. Let me purchase from this person because I see that they create a lot of content on this type of topic. And so they both hit on different areas that make both of them very powerful from you to choose between. And then the last thing I want to talk about in reference to this is that it's the home base for your primary content. I strongly advise against you making your home base for your primary content social media platforms. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more later on in this episode. But you want to make sure that you choose a sustainable home base for your primary content because you want primary content to be long form. You want that to be where you are building a relationship with your audience and with your community. And you can only do that through long form content. And you can do it even better when it's evergreen long form content because they can do the same thing at any time that they come across your brand. Now, should you do podcasting? Should you start a YouTube channel? Or should you start both? So I hear so many people kind of get stuck between the two. Like they like both of them. They have ideas for what they want to do on their podcast. And then they also have ideas for doing a YouTube channel. And so you can fall into the trap of wanting to do both at the same time. And I recommend if you're not familiar with doing either, start with one. Okay, you got to walk before you can run. I think that there's benefits in having both. I know for me, I have both. I have a YouTube channel and I have a podcast, but I'm also in the space to help you with your YouTube channel and podcasting. So I've done tons and tons of research on both. And even for me, as an expert, I consider myself in starting both. If you are doing things by yourself, it's not sustainable for you to maintain both and for you to really build and grow both. And so I recommend if you're not used to doing any type of YouTube video content or podcast episodes at all, pick the one that you're leaning more towards. And I'm going to help you kind of decide which one you should start with first and then work your way up to doing both later on. But don't start with both first, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take a pause and we're going to go into a quick commercial break. When I come back, I'm going to walk you through the things that you should consider when choosing a platform that you want to build your brand and business on while also creating your legacy. Hey girl, hey! Did you know that this podcast also has a free private community specifically for women entrepreneurs who are currently pursuing YouTube or podcasting? I know how lonely things can get as a content creator, and I wanted to create a safe space for us to share our milestones, get mentorship if you need it, and stay connected with each other through our reoccurring virtual and in-person events. If you've made it this far into the podcast episode, then you would definitely benefit from joining us inside of the Create Her Legacy community. And did I mention that it's free? Girl, go ahead and get in the room with us. I'll be sure to drop the link in the show notes. Now back to the episode. So previously, I shared why it is super important to be creating content as a part of your legacy and the platforms that I recommend that you choose from, being YouTube or podcasting. So now I'm going to go over some things that you should consider when choosing the right platform for you. So how exactly do you choose a platform for your brand and business? So the first thing I want you to think about is your natural skills, your natural gifts and abilities. And if you're not really sure of what those are yet, I strongly recommend that you check out my previous episode because I talked all about the natural gifts, skills, and abilities that God gave you and how to cultivate those gifts and skills that you have. And so that's going to really help you step into this question for sure. You also want to consider which one feels the most natural for you to pursue based on what your natural gifts, skills, and abilities are. So if you're a creative, you might really dominate with YouTube because you know how to storytell. You know how to tell stories through videos. You know how to put everything together. You feel like you could do some really good editing techniques to just really draw out a great experience for the viewer. And so doing a YouTube channel may be great because maybe you don't always want to just talk in a podcast episode. Maybe you more so want to show people what you're doing, especially like, for example, if you're a realtor or if you flip homes or if you do something that people would really benefit from seeing the visual part of you doing it and taking that action versus you just talking about it, then doing a YouTube channel may be better for you. But let's say on the flip side, maybe your natural skill and gifts or abilities is doing interviews for people. Maybe you are a great conversation starter. Maybe you can pull out people's story and really, really highlight different things on your episodes that really, really make you more effective in that category. So you having conversations may be what helps you dominate in the space, or even having your own conversations on the podcast. So maybe you have a ton to say and you want something easy that you can do where you can just release your message, where you can just share your thoughts. Then podcasting may feel the most natural for you to pursue. Keep in mind, YouTube ain't for everybody, okay? YouTube is not for everybody. Normally you have that YouTube bug that just cannot shake no matter what you try to pursue. And you know if YouTube is the thing for you, then you know it. And it's not for everybody. Same thing with podcasting. Everybody don't have a ton of things to say. And so podcasting may not be the thing that is easy for you to step into. And so you want to kind of consider the thing that you feel the most natural to pursue. And the reason why this is really important is because if it doesn't feel natural and it feels like you're going against the grain, eventually you're going to stop doing it. You're going to lose the motivation to keep going and put in the work that's required to do either one of them. And so if it's already something you naturally are gifted in doing, it's going to actually excite you. It's going to actually be fun for you to do this. And like for YouTube, it might actually be fun for you to put this story together and create that video and see the end result of what it is that you did. And so you really want to consider that whenever you're choosing your platform. That leads me into the next thing in reference to which platform shows proven results consistently. Not which platform shows proven results now, but I mean consistently. And what I mean by this is, and both of them have results. Okay, so let's start there. So podcasting will produce results and YouTube will produce results. But it really depends on what results are you specifically looking for, because that's what's going to help you decide on, is this the platform that is showing me that you can get these results consistently? So with YouTube, you know that if you pursue YouTube, that it has proven that you will get opportunities for sponsorships and brand deals. It has proven that you will be able to get access to more opportunities consistently the more you build your brand. It has proven that you can build a community over there on YouTube consistently through its track record throughout the years. Now with podcasting, it has proven that you can get in rooms and get conversations started with people that you may not even know, that you may really, really look up to consistently. I know so many podcasters who tell me like, Shonda, I never would have been able to talk to this person if I didn't have a podcast. Like, because I had a podcast, we were able to have a conversation. They wanted to be on my podcast. I was able to be on their podcast. And now you have a whole relationship that has been built off of you just having a podcast and having the opportunity for them to come on yours and for you to come on theirs. And so those are results that are proven consistently in the podcasting world. Also, both of the platforms show results in different ways. Like, for example, with YouTube. YouTube has also proven that you can get ad revenue consistently on that platform once you've built it up, hit the monetization requirements, and continue to produce content. So if you're looking for a way to create revenue on the back end passively, because I would argue that it is passive, but it's not passive. I say that it's passive on YouTube because you can take a break from YouTube and still be bringing in revenue from videos that you did years ago, right? So all the videos on your platform will produce income and you're going to get a check every single month as long as you have videos on your channel. So that has been proven consistently throughout that platform. Now, I say that it's not as passive because you do eventually still have to produce content over there because it will eventually die down. Okay, it takes a while, but it will die down because YouTube pushes your stuff on the homepage a lot more when you're being consistent on the platform. But it really comes down to what type of content you've created and if you've set yourself up to be able to get that passive revenue that it can bring in with like SEO and like all the other stuff. But I don't want to get into all of that because that's not important for now. I do want to go into the next thing. So which platform has the best longevity? So right now YouTube has longevity in reference to the length of amount of time that people are willing to look at your videos. And I think that YouTube kind of dominates in this space because they have such a powerful SEO building thing over there. So like with their search bar, people are constantly searching for stuff. And so it gives people easy access to older content versus with podcasting. I mean, people can binge watch your podcast. I feel like there's other ways that you can make your older episodes stay relevant, but I think it's a little bit more work because it's not necessarily through SEO. And I feel like SEO is the easiest way to do it without having to do any work in the back end, but it also has longevity because as long as they're on your podcast, they're able for like people are able to listen to them. You just got to do a little bit more legwork to introduce them into your funnels and, just do other things to get people listening to the older podcasts if they're or listening to the other podcast episodes if they're not organically going back and listening to those. And then also, which platform will help you create the most impact long term? Now, this is based on the type of impact that you're looking to create. If you're looking to start a movement, YouTube may be the way to go. If you're looking to create an impact based on the conversations and helping people no longer feel bounded to trauma or whatever, then having a podcast may be a better way for you to make impact. Only you can really decide on what that looks like for your brand and for your legacy. It really just depends on what your vision is when it comes to that. But you do want to consider which platform you feel is going to create the most impact for the people you're trying to reach long term. Also, I want you to think about which one feels the easiest for you to stick with consistently. And this is a big one, okay? Because both of them require a certain amount of work and effort. And so you want to choose the one that feels the easiest for you to start and stick with now and build your way up to choosing the other one later. So you need to really be honest with yourself in reference to, can I do this long-term consistently? Not can I start off strong and then completely burn out and never tap back into it again. It's going to also help you figure out which one feels the easiest for you to stick with based on the amount of work that it requires. So with YouTube, for example, with YouTube, you got to think about the video. You got to create the script depending on what type of content you're doing. So let's say the script is if you're doing talking videos. Like if I was recording right now, like a video to do this, this would be considered a talking head video, right? If you could see me and this was a YouTube video. So you need a script for that. And when I say script, you need like an outline with bullets on what you're going to talk about. And then also, that's not it. You also have to record it. So now you have to get dressed. You got to set up your production stuff, your ring light, your camera, all the things to record the video. And then after you record the video, now you got to edit the video. You got to edit the video and you got to make it appealing enough to keep people's attention. And then that's not it. Then you got to do the thumbnail, and you got to do a thumbnail that is going to attract your viewers, because it doesn't matter how good the video is if you can't get people to click on the video, right? And so there's a lot of different steps that you have to do when it comes to YouTube. And some people are committed to that. They're like, look, I love the process of going through these different things. So I'm cool with doing that. I may need to learn it first, but once I learn it, I feel like I'll really do good in that space. And so boom, you know that may feel the easiest for you to pursue. Now, podcasting, you pull up your mic, you put on your software that you're recording. Like for me, I use Audacity. You have a script because you don't want to be rambling. Like I'm looking at my script right now, and then you record. Now, some people take it a step further. I do edit my podcast episodes now just to like get out any type of dead space or if I'm saying something that's not relevant. So I do edit now. I didn't used to. For my first 2 seasons, I did not edit. Whatever came out is what came out. And now I do clean it up. But for me, I feel like that's optional. It depends on what it is what your goal is and the amount of time that you have, but that is a part of the post-production. So if you do choose to edit, then okay. And then the good thing is that's really all you got to do with podcasting. You talk, you edit, you post it. That's it. And maybe that feels the easiest for you right now. Maybe you can post a whole bunch of podcast episodes because you got a lot to say. And so you want to choose which one feels the easiest for you in this season. And then the last thing I want to mention with this part is based on your legacy vision, which platform will allow your community to be a part of that journey while you're growing the legacy. And so this comes back to what I talked about earlier in the episode with documentation. Do you want them to be a part of it visually, where it's on YouTube, or do you want them to be a part of it with an audio experience where they're listening to your thoughts and your perspectives and listening to the other people that you get to talk to and hearing their thoughts and perspectives? So you really just have to dissect what it looks like for you. So I want to highlight the YouTube highlights and the podcasting highlights so that way you kind of separate the two. So with the YouTube, it's searchable content, it's visual creation, which allows you to expand on your creativity. It's a free platform for you to post your video, so you don't have to worry about any barrier to entry or any cost to entry. You literally can use your phone to get started. It's optional if you record and edit your videos at this stage in the game, because a lot of people like that more authentic content now where it's not necessarily highly produced, but it's free to post your videos. It has proven results consistently, and it pays the creators for the content that we produce on that platform. So you know that once you hit those monetization requirements, you're going to be getting paid for the content that you produced. And so that's a really good highlight for YouTube. Now, the podcasting highlights is that it's an audio only experience, so it's a lot easier to produce. You don't have to worry about what your outfit is, how you look on camera. You don't have to worry about how you present yourself on camera. Like, it's only audio. And so it's a lot more conversational. It's a lot more intimate for the listener that is consuming the podcast. Also, it creates opportunities for you to connect and collab with other people. So if you're big into networking and you feel like a part of your brand and your legacy is going to be with connecting with a lot of different people, either in a similar space, in the same space, or maybe just who connect with what the vision is, then podcasting is going to create the opportunity for that. YouTube is not necessarily as big on collabs. Like, normally if you have a YouTube channel, it's about you. It's not necessarily about anybody else. So unless you have a video podcast, but we're not talking about video podcasting in this episode because I feel like that's a whole nother thing. You could put that with podcasting for now, but I don't want to go in too deep with the video podcasting. Another podcast highlight is that you own your podcast, so it can't be banned. There's no restrictions. I know with YouTube, you can get copyright. There could be strikes on your channel. Like, if they don't like the type of content that you produce, if it's like more high risk, they can delete or disable monetization. You can essentially get your account banned. Like, you really can, depending on what it is that you're doing. With podcasting, you don't have to worry about that. As long as you have your host platform and you're paying to have your podcast hosted on there, I mean, you could really talk about what you want to talk about on there. They're not going to delete your podcast if you step on some toes in the podcasting world. Like, they're just not. And then it's more accessible and convenient for listeners. So everyone's on the go right now. So a good podcast highlight is that people are listening to your podcast when it's convenient for them. And even if they're doing other things, they can have you in their ear. They can have you playing in the background. And I feel that creates a whole nother bond with your community and with your listeners, giving them the ability to do that. So those are the highlights that I want to mention between the two. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why not social media? Like, why haven't I talked about social media in reference to creating content to build your legacy through social media? Because we all know it exists. There's tons of platforms, and we're going to talk about it. So the thing about social media is that it's forever changing, and you know it is. Like, it's forever changing. It feels like the moment you get the hang of a specific platform, now there's a new algorithm. Now there's a new requirement. Now there's a new way of creating content that they want to push, and there's constantly having new platforms coming out, and you got to learn how those work. So social media it has its benefits, but when it comes to building a legacy, I just don't feel like it's the best avenue for you to extend all of your time in. And then another thing about social media is that it's junk food content. It's for entertainment. People get on social media because they're bored. They get on social media because they are, trying to fill up space. So they're maybe sitting on the couch, or they're waiting in line to pay a bill, or like they're doing something and they're going to social media to fill time. And so I call it junk food content, for one, because even if you have good content on there, people aren't actively seeking the content that you're producing necessarily. And it doesn't hit as long term as it would if it was a long form piece of content. It's junk food content because there's only a certain amount of time that you can keep their attention and make them want to make a next step or to create an impact based on that piece of content. A lot of the times when you get off of social media, you don't remember anything that you consumed on there. And it puts you in a trance, and not in a good way. Like, it puts you in a trance and you don't remember what happened in them last 3 hours. You don't remember what you looked at. You don't remember what you read. You ain't take no next step because of anything you saw on social media. And so that's why I say it's junk food filler content. Also, due to the nature of the platform, like I mentioned, people use it when they're bored. So that means they're not actively seeking what it is that you have to offer. They're not invested as much as they would be if they were a part of your community on your YouTube channel, or if they were an active listener to your podcast where they're looking forward to you posting your podcast episode every Monday, or they're looking forward to you posting that video once a week, and they're actually going to your channel or going to your podcast to see, have they posted anything new? Let's go and check this person out. They're not necessarily doing that on social media at the extent of what they're doing on YouTube. So there's creators that you subscribe to on podcasting and with YouTube where the moment you need certain information on a specific topic, you know whose channel or whose podcast to go and consume content from. With social media, it's not really the same experience when it comes to that. You're not going there to solve a problem. The only problem that you're really going on social media to solve is to be entertained temporarily while you're bored, or while you're on break, or while you're doing something, that you don't feel like doing. So you're like, let me tap in on social media until I do the thing. That's the only reason people are really going on there, or to be nosy. But we ain't gonna talk about that. And then also, social media is very time consuming, and it lacks the long-term return of investment of your time. One thing that I feel is very powerful about YouTube and podcasting is, it's going to require some time on the front end, but the results, the return of investment of that produced piece of content is more long-term and is more sustainable than any piece of social media content that you could produce. And I'm hearing people taking hours to produce short form videos, which I think is crazy when I think about it, because it doesn't have the same return of investment in time. And so you really want to think about that. How much time are you consuming with creating social media content? And is it giving you the return of investment that you're looking for? Because what I see is that it puts you on the hamster wheel. And then now you're on the hamster wheel and you don't know how to get off, because if you stop producing content on social media, then your whole brand just stops. It just stops because it doesn't keep pushing anything that you've created. It may give you like a couple days. If you go viral, you may have a couple weeks, maybe even a month or so. But eventually it's going to be like, where's the rest of your, like, you ain't posted in 2 days. Like, where are you at? I'm about to stop showing what you've produced over these last 3 years, or over these last however long you've been on there. And so you really have to consider that. And then the last thing that I really want to kind of talk about with that, why not social media, is that you don't own your social media account. People get banned all the time on all the social media accounts. There's people on TikTok that's constantly getting banned on TikTok and they're trying to get their account back. There's people that get banned or get locked out of their Instagrams and they're like frazzled, trying to figure out what happened and trying to get in touch with someone, and they don't know what happened, and they can't even get in touch with people on Instagram to get their account. Like, you can build your stuff on social media, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to keep that after you've built it, because they can just remove your account at any time, and it don't even got to be for anything you did wrong. It could be a misunderstanding. I feel like majority of the people who have their accounts banned on social media is due to a misunderstanding. due to a glitch in the system or whatever. But who wants that risk when you are producing content to build your legacy and build your brand? You don't have to worry about your podcast getting banned. You don't have to worry about necessarily your youth. Like, it's a lot less frequent with YouTube than it is with social media. And you can at least talk to someone on YouTube a lot quicker, I feel, than if it's on Instagram or on another social media platform. Like, people, it's hard to even get in touch with the TikTok people. So those are things to consider. And that's why I didn't consider social media. And I advise against you building your legacy on social media. What you want to use social media for is for community nurturing, not legacy building. So there's nothing wrong with showing behind the scenes on your stories and like producing stuff when you want to, but just you got to tread lightly on those type of platforms. So now you chose your legacy platform, you've made your decision, and now you want to know, like, now what? What do I do now? You want to eliminate short-term expectations. The results should not be the focus when you first choose your platform. You really want to just learn the platform and what is required for you to pursue it. So learn the craft and start working on the craft. And then you want to create your plan of action. And I'm going to talk about this because this is going to kind of guide you into stage 3 of creating your legacy, but we'll dive more into that later. But you want to create your plan of action on that platform and then focus on the legacy vision. So this is a long-term play. So learn and figure out, how can you document? How can you be sharing stuff on here that's important to your community? How can you educate your audience and lead them to the next step? How can you build and grow your network? How can you grow on the platform after you've learned the craft enough to be able to focus on growing on the platform? So I feel like I've said a lot. I hope that this helped you. If you are in the Create Her Legacy community, I want you to create a post or drop a post or comment under the post about this episode and tell me, which platform are you committing yourself to pursuing for your legacy? The next episode is going to be on how your business may be becoming an idol in your life and how to identify the signs. So for me personally, God stripped me from my business because I had made it an idol, and I did a whole episode on that, and I think that is like one of the most powerful episodes that I've done to date. So I definitely recommend you check that out. But I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.